The months rolled on, and Bruno had grown many times the size he was when he came. He had equaled the Alsatians in height and had even outgrown them, but was just as sweet, just as mischievous, just as playful. As the months passed by, Bruno he grew in size, and now he had even equaled the Alsatian dogs. If you remember, the narrator had two Alsatian dogs, and even he had become larger in size than them. But he yet looked sweet, and he was mischievous, and he was playful. And he was very fond of us all. Above all, he loved my wife, and she loved him too. No? He was very fond of the narrator's family, the narrator's children, the dogs, but above all, he loved the narrator's wife the most, because your children, you see, the time he came in that family, he was just a small cub now, and the narrator's wife had taken to him. So it is very obvious that he would have more affection towards narrator's wife. And she had changed his name from Bruno to Baba, a Hindustani word signifying small baby. Now he was given the name Baba. Okay? And he could do a few tricks too. At the command, like if anybody says Baba wrestle or Baba box, he would vigorously, he will deal with anyone who came forward for a rough and tumble. Here rough and tumble means a boxing fight. Give him a stick and say, Baba hold gun, and he will point the stick at you as if he is pointing at you. Ask him, Baba, where's the baby? And he immediately produced and cradled affectionately a stump of wood which he had carefully concealed in his straw bed. But because of the tenor's children, poor Bruno or Baba had to be kept chained most of the time, as it has grown larger in size. Now the tenor's children, they were afraid. Now, then my son and I advised my wife, and friends advised her too, to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. He was getting too big to keep at home. After weeks of such advice, she at last consented. She at last agreed with that the Baba could be sent to Mysore to be kept in a zoo. Now, hastily means hurriedly, and before she could change her mind, a letter was written to the curator of the zoo. Now, curator here means a person who is in charge of the zoo. Did he want a tame bear for his collection? This is what they have asked in the letter also. And so he replied, yes. So the zoo sent a cage from the Mysore in a lorry. Lorry is the large truck. And the distance was like 87 miles. And then the Baba was packed off. Now, packed off is a phrasal verb which means to send someone somewhere else. Okay. We all missed him greatly, but in a sense we were relieved. My wife was inconsolable. She wept and fretted. For the first few days she would not eat a thing. Then she wrote a number of letters to the curator. How was Baba? Back came to the replies, well, but fretting, he refuses food too. Now here we see that they were a little relieved that he is sent to the zoo because he had become too big in size. But it affected the wife, narrator's wife, the most. There was nothing that could comfort her. So she wept and she continuously worried herself. She was too much anxious, and for first few days she didn't eat. And then later on, she wrote many letters asking the curator, asking about Baba, and always it is to come like he is not eating food. He is also very much upset. He is also very much anxious. After that, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. And so here when any of the friend, their known person used to go to Mysore, they used to ask, they used to request them that please go and see Baba how he is. Now they reported that he was well, but he looked very thin and sad. And so they got the report that no, he is okay, but he has become thin. The reason, because he might not be eating much, and he was sad, even not happy. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. They were saying that he was very unhappy and he was not at all relaxed. He was anxious, too anxious. Continuously he was anxious. And for 3 months I managed to restrain my wife from visiting. 3 months after sending Bruno to the zoo. For 3 now, when the wife was getting this news, she wanted to go and meet Baba. So now one particular day she said, I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I will go by myself, by bus or train. So I took her by car. Now one day she gave a final judgment like, if you are going to take me, it's okay. Otherwise, I am going all alone to see Baba. Friends had conjured that bear would not recognize her. They had the opinion that in this duration he might have forgotten the narrator's wife. I had thought so too. But while she was yet some yards from his cage, Baba saw her and recognized her. He howled with happiness. Now, howl is a sound made by the animals. So, he howled with happiness. She ran up to him. Now, see, he was in a cage, petted him through the bars, and he stood on his head in delight. For the next 3 hours, she would not leave that cage. She gave him tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and what not. She had brought many things for Baba because you remember he used to like to eat everything. Then closing time came. The closing time is the time at which zoo has to be closed, and they have to leave now. My wife cried bitterly. She at that time she cried too much. And Baba also started crying bitterly. Even the hardened curator, who was a very strict curator, and the keepers felt depressed. As for me, I had reconciled myself to what I knew was going to happen. Now, by looking at the condition of the narrator's wife and Bruno, all were depressed. And the narrator, he submitted himself in his heart. He made up his he just knew that now he knows what is going to happen and he has to submit himself. Oh, please, sir, she asked the curator, may I have my Baba back? This is what the narrator also knew, that she will be asking back the Baba to take with them. Hesitantly, he answered, Madam, he belongs to the zoo and is government property now. I cannot give away government property. But if my boss, the superintendent in Bangalore, agrees, certainly you may have him back. He said, I can't give you for the reason. If I wish also, I can't give you because now he is government property. But if the superintendent who is at Bangalore, if he agrees, then certainly you can take him back to home. There followed the return journey to Bangalore and a visit to the superintendent's bungalow. Now they were in Mysore at the zoo, and now they are to Bangalore to get the consent of the superintendent. Okay, and a tearful pleading starts. The narrator wife says, Baba and I are both fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? He was a kind-hearted man and consented. The superintendent, he was a kind person, and so he agreed. Not only he agreed, but he wrote to the curator telling him to lend us a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. So here what the narrator's wife wished, it happened to her. Back we went to Mysore again, armed with superintendent's letter. Armed with, why? Because now nobody can deny. No, nobody can refuse Baba's written. So that's why armed is written. Armed with superintendent's letter. Baba was driven into a small cage and hoisted on top of the car. And so that cage was raised and kept on the top of the car. The cage was tied securely and a slow and careful return journey to Bangalore was accomplished. So now Baba is on his way back to home. Once they reached home, a squad of coolies were engaged for special work in our compound. Now, what they have arranged, a small group of people of coolies. Coolies were the unskilled laborers, so they can be hired at a very cheap amount also. So they were being hired and they were engaged for one work in the narrator's compound in their area. What was that? An island was made for Baba. Now, usually island means surrounded by water all this side, isn't it? Land surrounded by water from all the side. So, an island was made for Baba. Now, it was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. Now, let's see the structure of the island. It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide and was surrounded by a dry pit. No, that means the water was not filled in the pit, or a moat, you can say. Moat means a deep and wide trench around the place. So this pit was dug. It was 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. Fine. A wooden box that once housed fowls. Now, fowls is a kind of bird, which is like it could be hen also. So once that wooden box was used to keep the birds. It was brought and put on the island for Baba to sleep at night. And then straw was placed inside to keep him warm and his baby. Do you remember, children, that baby? Yes. That stump, the gnarled stump, along with his gun. Gun was that stick. Now, these are the things that he used to play with. The piece of bamboo, with both which had been sentimentally preserved since he had been sent away to the zoo, were put back for him to play with. So see, for 3 months when Bruno was away from the house, yet his toys and everything was well taken care of. In a few days, the coolies hoisted the cage onto the island and Baba was released. He was delighted, standing on his hind legs. Hind legs are if any animal is quadruped, like horse or dogs, the legs at the back will be the hind legs. Okay, children? He pointed his gun and cradled his baby, took care of his baby. My wife spent hours sitting on a chair there while he sat on her lap. He was 15 months old and pretty heavy too. The way my wife reaches the island and leaves it is interesting. I have tied a rope to the overhanging branch of a mango tree with a loop at its end. Putting one foot in the loop, she kicks off with the other to the bridge, the 6-foot gap that constitutes the width of the surrounding pit. The return journey is made the same way. But who can say now that a sloth bear has no sense of affection, no memory, and no individual characteristics? I just for to help you out, I have just tried to make one picture. Okay, children, I have drawn this picture. You can see this is the island and this is the pit. This is 6 feet wide. Okay, so here it had been somewhere close by, and so here this is the rope that was tied to the branch, and here something, a post might be there with which the other end of the rope was tied, and here loop. So she will place her leg here on this foot, sorry, her foot on this loop, and she will kick off, and then that with that energy she will be able to reach the you can say on the other end, and so here she will be on the island, right? In the same way she will move back. Hope you have liked this explanation, and if you liked it, then do like and subscribe to my channel.